Bodhi leaf. Bodhi leaves. Abundance, abundance, abundance. Namanda, 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 namanda. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our family service for today. It's nice to have everyone here and there. Nice to have a regular service as well. So it's good to be together with you. Coming to the end of July, maybe we've all been able to find our share of chicken teriyaki and seasonal goodies. Makes it a little more difficult when we don't have all the bazaars to visit and things like that. And now we do move into the Obon season, and we miss that as well. Lots of our temples are preparing and performing to be able to combine with the other temples and contribute to the BCA efforts to have some type of Obon participation, and there's a lot of energy and spirit that's going out that way. So that's nice to see. It is still a little bit different, and we all miss the festivities at our own temples and doing that in person and being together with each other. So a little bit I'll talk about that aspect of temple life in my message today. I would like to introduce you to our chairperson for today. Serving as our service chairperson for today is Native Horse. You might recognize Native Horse. He has his native blanket on, so we can always recognize that part of his identity and his heritage. We were able to visit a little bit. You know, his cousin Shadow stays nearby in a stable with a number of other horses, and they had this equine virus sweep through their stables and affected, maybe a dozen or more horses. And so very similar to the pandemic for the horses. The virus is called Strangles, and just as it sounds, it affects their breathing and respiratory systems, and very difficult. We've had to have the vet come out a number of times to see our horse, Shadow, and then daily we were there to take her temperature and all these things, maybe twice a day, a few times a day, to monitor her temperature, make sure she's getting enough liquids and she's continuing to eat and all these things. And you could tell right away when she's not feeling well, her head will hang and just very, very listless. The horse that stays right across the walkway had a very bad case and was taken to the equine hospital facilities at UC Davis. And so a lot of serious things can happen. Some of the horses, potentially they can die from such a virus. And so everyone was concerned, and sometimes not everyone, all the owners are not so forthcoming about the information. So it's hard to control because there are a number of horses and a number of different horse owners and things like this, and everyone has their different ways and different veterinarians and things like that. So the communication wasn't too good, so a little bit scary, but Shadow has gotten over hers for a time and medical clearance, and so we're very happy that she is feeling much better again. She can go out again and not so separated from the other horses and things like that. So back to normal, but it's been maybe 3-4 months of difficulty for us and many of the other horses there. So as you can see, Native Horse has his mask on and continuing to remind us to take these things very seriously, to be cautious and careful for ourselves and others, to wear our masks wherever we go. And we can see that he has his onenju on, so he is ready for service. I'd like to go over our service order for today. We will begin with the reading of the 3 treasures from our service book, and followed by the Raisanmon, the 3 treasures in Japanese. Following this, I'll take my seat upon the Onaijin, and we will chant the Sambujo, the 3 respectful callings, and the Juseige. Following this, Nembutsu and Ekoku will complete the chanting portion of our service, and then I'll be back for our Dharma message. So let us begin with the 3 treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the 3 treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be free from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Raisanmon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasudeni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasudeni kuku. Kono mikonjo ni mukatte さらにいずれの章に向かって過去の身をどせん。 大衆もろともに指針に参謀に消えし立て祭るべし。自ら仏に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに大道を体現して無常意を起こさん。自ら法に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに深く共造に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自らそうに消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくば主情とともに大衆を通りして一切無下ならん。無常人人未明の法は百千万号にも愛をことかたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を消し立て祭らん。ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナモアミダ仏、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ。三部上、十世下。
小学学を無料校不意大接種不採小便具政府上昇学菓子上運動病床長実法空教未証門政府上昇学利欲人少年上映主文業シグム浄土一生天人師人力現代公不祥無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根門永息小悪道通断全宗門高僧上満足異様老実法日願修十期天候普賢一周解放像公正独法超大集中説法四苦供養一切物不足修徳本願礼心上満徳一三概要女文無下知通断未不詳感覚営利投資最小損志願薬効果大聖の感動国書天に東鎮妙慶ナマンダウナマンダウナマンダウナマンダウナマンダウナマンダウ願にしく六平等性一切同本の大心往生
Good morning again, everyone. So nice to have this service with you. I'm so happy to be here this time of year. Thinking of Obon, we just had our Obon Hatsubon service and activities last weekend, and Obon is such a time, lots of memories and thoughts come to mind, and lots of stories as well. So one story was shared about the Buddha's disciple and his cousin, Ananda. He was approaching the Buddha, and so they had much time. He was always a very devout, one of the main disciples, and so he would always be around the other disciples, and he would have the opportunity to be nearby the Buddha. And so he enjoyed this companionship with all of them. So something had come to mind for him, and he approached the Buddha, and something, maybe just having this regular and daily connection with the Buddha, with the disciples, he came to realize suddenly that this was what he called a lovely companionship, much more crucial to his spiritual progress than he had realized. So he's coming to see that this connection with all these others, on the same spiritual path, really had impacted him. So he wanted to bring this up to the Buddha and approach the Buddha. He said, this spiritual friendship, spiritual companionship, spiritual intimacy is no less than half of all of spiritual life. And so he thought, this is more important than I realized. Over half of my development and cultivation in my spiritual life is due to these relationships. And the Buddha stopped him, said, "Say not so, Ananda. It is the whole, not the half of spiritual life." And so the Buddha was pointing out that this is not just part of it. This is totally it. To have this companionship, to surround yourself with people of sharing the same nature, concerned about spirituality, concerned about cultivating the spiritual aspect of our lives. So it's not the whole, it's the whole, not the half. Okay, and he brought this up. And so when we think of these relationships, often it's thought in terms of student to the teacher, disciples to the master, and this is like a vertical relationship. And so the Buddha and his disciples. But there's also an aspect of a horizontal relationship of our peers, right? And so supporting one another, member to members, family members, all on the same level. And I think we emphasize this in Shin Buddhist practice. There's the idea in Japanese, often we hear a saying, Ondo Bo, Ondo Gyo, and we are all fellow travelers along the path. So the minister, sometimes looked upon as the head, but still struggling through life and sometimes bumbling through life. And we each take turns helping each other through the difficulties that we face in our lives. And so in this sense, we are all on this horizontal realm together, cultivating our spirituality, enjoying our spirituality, coming to the temple, reciting the Nembutsu, and doing these things together, enjoying the Obon season, each remembering members of the family that they have lost and reflecting upon those types of thoughts. And those thoughts are, more than just remembering your own family, but your family helps you to see into the infinite, into what we are calling Amida, and making our connection to this infinite Amida that's always surrounding us and supporting us. I remember a time when I was very young. Charmin likes to call it my striped t-shirt days, maybe single digit age, and my father was the minister of the Placer Buddhist Church, and so they would give out for the Obon, encouraging everyone to participate. And so for the young ones who would be hesitant to dance, encouraging them, at least one dance and you all get these treats at the end, soda and a hot dog and a little envelope, and they used to give, I don't know, 35 cents, 50 cents or something like this in a small envelope, and just to qualify to get these treats and the cash prize, my friends and I would wait and hang around and wait, and just at the last dance we would jump in there and do the last dance just to be able to get these special things. And so usually for the most of the time we were into what is known as itazura. So we would be in our little troublemaking circle of friends and doing this and that, and just staying on the fringe of the dancing and the festivities. Then we know it's the last dance, so we charge in there and participate in just the final dance. So it was quite the transition to become a minister and lead the dance, coming out into the big circle, and then you can't just leave, so they're expecting you to dance. Gee, this is not something new for me, so I wasn't accustomed to being a part of that. So if I have to do this, I guess I better go to these lessons just like everyone else. And so kind of, again, becoming one of everyone else's fellow travelers along the path, this horizontal friendship that we carry on in our Jodo Shinshu traditions. So I was able to get beyond my barriers of being self-conscious and hesitant to be in the obon dances and things like this. So I would be able to participate. So later, as a minister, sometimes we're asked to do, families have this idea. It's common these days to have something called a celebration of life rather than calling it a funeral. And sometimes the family has good ideas, and sometimes it's kind of presented as, we don't want to dwell upon the negative and sad times, but let's look at the happy times and show these pictures and good times and remembrances and things like this. And so it's presented as kind of an option to the funeral, and you're not looking at the sad and difficult times. And to me, as a minister, the beauty and the depth and the power is held in a funeral service where you can see the full spectrum, good and bad, life and death. And through this, we're able to, there's more depth there than to just look at one half of the picture. We want to see the whole picture. We want to share the whole picture with the young ones in our families and not divert our eyes to what we don't want to see, things we don't understand, like suffering and death. But to see it all, we all confront this, we all encounter this, and to see it clearly, to see it early, and to share this is a very healthy way to live. And this has always been brought up. And as we go through these difficult things, we have all our Sangha friends that are sharing our spiritual cultivation with us. So I would like to close by sharing these words from the story about Ananda and the Buddha. Please join me in Gassho. This spiritual friendship, spiritual companionship, spiritual intimacy is no less than half of the spiritual life. Not so, Ananda. It is the whole, not the half, of spiritual life. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Okay, thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to take a moment to give thanks to everyone who has contributed to our video services, people who have provided the fruits and the flowers and the recording equipment and time and all these things that become involved in providing these services for us. Lots of people are able to help to edit and to post and to prepare these services. And at both the temples, and so we are appreciative of everyone who is involved in that aspect. And so I'd like to prepare now. We will have Oshoko to close this service, so please prepare. Here we will light the incense, and at home as you have prepared to do, whether you are burning incense or flower petals, rocks, marbles, some type of offering, and please come up to your altar and Oshoko. Okay, so we will conclude this service. Thank you very much for being here. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda.